Great to have you with us. Now, the three justices of the High Court removed recently by President Akufo-Addo have vowed to challenge the decision they describe as disappointing. The president's removed Justice Ayisiado, Justice Uta Paul Derry, and Justice Mustafa Habib Logo from office as justices of the High Court by letter dated Thursday, December 6, 2018. Speaking to my colleague Bernice Abubedu Lansa on News Desk, a lawyer for the three judges, Nikpakpo Addo, said they are filing additional cases in court over the dismissal. He explained the president should have waited for the cases pending before the court to be decided before the dismissal.
It's very simple. Joseph has just given you the background. Now, in somewhere I think in May thereabout, we had, when we were before the ECOWAS court, we had filed for interim measures. There was a different panel, you understand, who was handling that case at the time. They gave an oral injunction, which was restraining the government, Chief Justice and the Chief Justice's Committee from proceeding against my client. Now, when the substantive motion was to be heard, the tenure of office of the judges had expired, so the new set of judges were sworn in, and they took over the matter. So this new set of judges heard the interim measures application for the first time in November. They decided that, look, we had a prima facie case, but then the court, if you read the rulings, then the court had the paper at the time we had even filed the case. Our clients had been removed from office. The court had the power to reinstate them. So let's proceed with the substantive matter. And so they denied our interim measures application and said we should proceed with the substantive matter.
Exactly.
Which also meant that, yes, if the measures proceed. Now, the question you ask yourself is, between the 25th or 28th of November that we went to the court and the 6th of December, the committee should produce one single letter from it inviting my clients to appear before it and to have their case heard. You understand? So clearly, this decision had already been taken in respect of the report. I mean, you can't blame the president because the president must act once he receives the report from the Chief Justice's Committee.
So
the president had nothing to do in respect of this matter. But the question to be asked is, were my clients given an opportunity to be heard by this committee before a decision was taken that they were guilty of anything? No. And so they have decided that even though this case is pending, and we have this matter pending in respect of their breach of their right to privacy and others, which is going to be heard on the 23rd of January. Now that an action has been taken to remove them from office, they will proceed back to the court and add an additional matter that they were not heard before they were removed.
Okay.
And so this also adds an additional chapter to the case.
Now, away from that, the Interministerial Task Force and the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners arrested 9 Chinese miners over the weekend and have issued a warning to foreigners and small-scale miners with no license to stay away from the mines as the ban is lifted today. The Joint Task Force has also warned police, military and other persons posing as national security operatives to stop assuming any regulatory role and extorting monies from the miners. The raid on miners within the Joabo Forest and Dominasi environs in the Western region on Friday and Sunday revealed a continuing strong Chinese presence in small-scale mining despite an embargo on foreign involvement. We'll be taking a report from Love FM's Erastus Asaridoko in a moment, but before that, let's go straight to the NDC headquarters. My colleague Parker Wilson is standing by. We understand 2 presidential aspirants, Professor Joshua Alabi and Alban Bagbin, have today submitted their nomination forms for the flag bearership race of the NDC. Let's go to Parker now. Hi, Parker, if you can hear me, what's the latest at the NDC headquarters?
Let me just report to you that 2 presidential hopefuls of the NDC have successfully filed their nomination. In fact, they paid 300,000 Ghana cedis. If you look behind me, you realize that almost all the party executives are present at the party headquarters to receive the nomination forms from the presidential aspirant. And I can say that the former president, we are told, will be in the next 5 minutes. But let me approach the chairman of the party and briefly engage him on a few issues being raised. Chairman, thank you very much for your time and thank you for speaking to Joy News. Now, basically, some of the candidates are still raising concerns about the filing fees. I mean, Alabi just a while ago talked about the fact that it is not a prudent way to actually raise finances for the party.
I think I gave him the appropriate response by saying that the party is not for sale and that we are not putting the NDC up for the highest bidder. What we are facing is the reality of the situation. And the situation is that the landscape, political landscape, electoral landscape has been expanded. And we are dealing with, in the last election, when we used to have Congress, we were dealing with just about 3,000 delegates. Now we are dealing with a huge number of delegates across about 260,000 delegates. It calls for logistics, it calls for resources. And for that matter, what we are even asking them to pay is just to part finance the system. The party is also raising resources to do that.
But they believe that you have to find more innovative ways of raising funds for the party.
The innovative way is to test the resourcefulness of our presidential candidate. If you want to lead a party like NDC, you must prove beyond all reasonable doubt that you are resourceful. We are not saying you should be rich. You must be resourceful. Resourcefulness means that you yourself must demonstrate innovation in raising funds. You remember that in the U.S. election, Howard Dean did an electronic fundraiser, and within 24 hours raised several millions of Ghana cedis. And so I was happy that some of the candidates resorted to the use of social media to ask their supporters and others who believe in them to contribute. And I have seen people even raising beyond what we ask them to do. That is the test of resourcefulness of the candidate.
So clearly, if you don't have 300,000, you're not fit to lead the NDC.
You are fit to lead the NDC if you don't have 300,000, because there are people who don't. When I was contesting for national chairman, I didn't even have 10,000 to file my nomination. But when I made appeal, somebody called me and paid the 10,000 for me. Once I filed the nomination, the goodwill started coming, and people were contributing to several aspects of my campaign. And so you don't have to have the money in your bank account or in your pocket to be able to be fit to. But you must demonstrate your resourcefulness that, look, given the opportunity, this is me. I want to lead the NDC. Immediately, I made a flag bearer of the party. All the logistical requirements and others are placed on my shoulders to provide the necessary logistics and support, mobilize the human and material resources in order to lead a campaign, a national campaign of that magnitude. And so, if you do not demonstrate this ability at this level, of course, I will have cause to worry in your capacity to lead the party. Because we are not saying that you must have that money in your pocket and you must have it in your bank account. Right. We are saying that just demonstrate that you are capable of using innovation to raise money, as people have been doing.
Right. Now, finally, there are concerns about how the campaign is going, and some say it's been quite acrimonious. I mean, I heard you say that you are putting measures in place to ensure that the campaign is devoid of any acrimony and vilification. How are you doing that, Chair?
Well, first of all, the appeal is to the to if I'll renew that appeal. Followers, they must demonstrate leadership by asking their followers to exercise decorum in addressing their campaign messages. I have indicated that we must trade ideas and not insults. And it's a very critical point that I made, that we are going to convince Ghanaians to vote for us to form the next government. And so if you are following a leader, find out what that leader is bringing on board and try to articulate those objectives and visions of your leader. And so we must limit personal attacks, vilification, insults, and mudslinging to the barest minimum, and demonstrate that we are comrades. These are internal party democratic contest that we are having. And so what we need is to demonstrate goodwill towards one another, because at the end of this exercise, we need everybody on board to face the opponent, that is the MPP. And for me, that is where our arsenals must be directed to. The kind of misgovernance that is taking place now, the kind of misrule that is taking place now, the kind of reckless spending that Kufuor administration are engaging and to ensure that we put the national resources to good use, to better serve the people of this country. Why is it that we have hospitals that have been built? The Legon Hospital is there. Allow me to finish this point. The Legon Hospital is there, the Franco Hospital, there, several hospitals are there. Instead of us to supply them with the necessary human resource to operate and address the doctors, nurses to operate, they are interested in using 12 million to buy drones.
Right,
and
that's
I
fine.
think that is misplaced priority. And this is what we are going to. Yes.
Right, so it's the fund of nomination.
So it's important that when we are filing nomination, we give clear indication to them people that we are coming at them.
Well, that's fine. That's fine anyway. But finally, I mean, how many more candidates are you expecting to file the nomination today?
I think we are left with our two. Spioga, Sly Mensa, and then former President Mohammeds will be filing. In fact, the next to come is President Mohammeds, who will be coming, and then Sly will be the last in the series for today. And then tomorrow, the rest of the aspirants will also follow suit.
Right. Thank you very much. And you had the chairman of the opposition NDC, Ofosampo, for there, indicating to me that indeed former President John Dramani Mahama is the next to file his nomination forms. And as I indicated to you already, all the party executives are present here receiving the nomination forms. The General Secretary is present, who has been endorsing the nomination forms. And of course, tomorrow is the final day for the filing of nominations. So we are hoping that the next candidates will, the next 4 candidates will file the nominations tomorrow.
Right, thanks, Parker, for that update. We'll be coming back to you, like Mr. Ofosampo said, when former President Mahama comes with his nomination. Let's stay with the NDC, because some faithful of the opposition party in the Boko West constituency of the Upper East region have been raising funds to support former President John Mohammeds' bid to become the party's presidential candidate for the 2020 elections. The supporters volunteered to appeal for funds at the Zabila market and donate the proceeds to support John Mahama to pay his filing fees. Some of the people who gave donations said they were doing so because they believed John Mahama was the best person to salvage them for what, in their opinion, is severe hardships brought on the country by the Akufo-Addo-led government.
We have seen that when our leader was in power, he has done a lot of things. He has given us a secondary school, but up to now, the secondary school has not been able to finish it. And this government has come, the hardship is too much. So there's the need for us. People are angry for change, and we know that if we come together to support his former president, John Dramani Mahama, he will be able to capture power, and there will be change, and Ghanaians will be happy. That today is a market day for the people of Zabila. So some of them were here with their animals to sell. Others were here with their millet to sell. But when they heard of the contribution, or when they heard of this agenda, most of them came with their animals, pledging to support the former president for him to be able to fight. Yes, we are here to solicit funds to help John Mahama to file his nomination for presidential candidate. So that's why we are here today, and we are organizing it basically. It's a voluntary donation. Anybody who feels any person at all will take it. We are in need and die hardly for Mahama to come back and save us. There is a mistake. Nana Bendia Kuya, and yes, we are talking driver. Before passing the Pussy barrier, Massive was hey, Scanio, some people caught Babia, for Jim Star was in Scanua, and he's young, Yahu Chile, Yahu Chile, they are passing on John Dramani Mahama, former president.
As you're watching Joy News today with me, Daniel Dazi. Away from the politics and back to illegal mining, because as I said earlier, the Interministerial Task Force and the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners have arrested 9 Chinese miners over the weekend and have issued a warning to foreigners and small-scale miners with no license to stay away from the mines as the ban on small-scale mining is lifted today. Erastus Asaidongo has been traveling with the task force.
A raid by the Joint Interministerial and Small-Scale Mining Task Force on mining sites within the Jabo Forest and Dominasi in the Western region at the weekend revealed continuous violation of mining laws. Despite a clear prohibition of foreigners by law to engage in small-scale mining, many Chinese nationals were actively engaged. Some have set up camps, destroying the forest cover in search of gold. The devastation goes wide as far as the eyes can see. These 4 Chinese nationals were even bold enough to set up a bulk fuel supply point for illegal mining close to the Jabo forest. In all, 9 Chinese miners were arrested. At Dominase, some escaped into the forest and left equipment running. The task force destroyed some and grounded 4 excavators found in both Jabo and Dominase. Though the ban has been lifted, the task force believes the real job of enforcing the law on mining starts from today. Leader of the Interministerial Committee Task Force, Nana Kwesi Ajikum, and PRO for the Small-Scale Miners Task Force, Peter Aiki, had a warning for those who will want to take advantage of the absence of a ban.
The police. Why now come? So we are police ni, we are soldier ni, we are national security ni. Young small because young small will be so be mrasa to say babaji obisika anabe bo bi apo. And so we next funeral kri uko be site near Freyan never be shiawa. As a national PRO for the task force, now we are in collaboration with the Interministerial Task Force, and we are working together very hard to get rid of the illegalities in the system. My advice to our fellow miners is that if you don't track your machine, the government is saying that the policies don't go to the field, don't go and work with the machine. If you don't have the document, don't go and work. For now, we are going to be very, very vigilant, very, very serious on the operations, because this ban came as a result of illegalities in the system. So we as a miners, we are not going to sit down for this thing to happen again. We don't want to encounter a problem or meet our own people who are doing the wrong thing. If you are on the water body, don't try. If you are close to the river body, don't go. We will come after you, and we will make sure that the ban will never place on this industry again, because for almost 2 years ban has really affected we the legal miners. So this time round, we are not going to spare anyone who is going to do illegalities from Monday going.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Now, it's a documentary revealing widespread extortion of monies from patients at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Robbing the sick is a product of a year-long undercover investigation by Joy News following concerns by patients who visit the facility, said to be Ghana's 3rd biggest teaching hospital. Tonight, Joy News premieres the story. In the following excerpt, a midwife detains a fresh mother after delivery because she could not pay 32 cedis demanded by the healthcare worker.
While hanging out on the corridors of the OBS and Ghani department, I meet this lady. I've decided to call her Zina. Her sister was detained at the maternity ward. The midwife who delivered her of her baby is demanding money for assisting her during the delivery. This midwife is popularly called Auntie B. She had closed for her nightly duties, but waiting on Zina to pay 30 cedis delivery fee. This is the second time I'm accompanying such distressed patients to pay on their behalf.
My brother and sister, no say we say I'm say also Okay.
These monies are not sanctioned by the authorities of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Dr. David Akombela is the chief executive of the hospital.
The question of extortions by health personnel from our clients, I've been hearing such complaints on radio and I have a referral, but nobody has concretely brought a report to me on any concrete person taking money from a particular client. But we have taken steps. We've actually written out to notify all staff that it's illegal for anybody to take monies from anybody through any unapproved channel without receipts. So our staffs are aware that when they are caught in that act, they will be reprimanded heavily.
Now, Public Relations Officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. Ken Asamoah, though corroborated some cases of extortion as reported in Robbing the Sick, says hospital authorities have taken action already to check that.
I'm not because, like I said earlier on the AM show, we had heard commentary of this on local radio stations that people were expressing some concerns about some of the payments they were making at the hospital. And so management has already taken steps as early as January through April this year in trying to create an avenue for people to make formal complaints and also for hospital management to be able to assess the situation and deal with it appropriately.
Okay, talking about formal complaints, we heard earlier the Chief Executive Officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital say that they had heard these allegations. There were no formal complaints. Beyond the complaints, did you investigate these allegations and claims by your clients or patients?
So when we had the commentary on some of these extortion cases, what we did was that we went into partnership with NGOs in the northern region, Khaled being one of them and then League of Youth being another, to create an avenue for clients of the hospital. If they come to the hospital and they feel that at any point in time they are being made to pay for certain things that they don't think it's appropriate, they have a channel which they can partner. We also went further than that to do massive education on radio and also in town hall meetings in Tamale to educate the populace on the right appropriate payment channels in the hospital. Beyond that, we also increased the surveillance systems in the hospital, and you'll be amazed to hear that as I speak to you right now, we have 2 people facing court for pretending to be staff of the Tamale Teaching Hospital and defrauding unsuspecting clients of their monies. A member of our own staff is also in court for defrauding clients. So management is doing everything it possibly
What kind of surveillance are you talking about? CCTV cameras?
We have CCTV cameras in there. We have security officers being asked to check for receipts at service points. We've also, as much as possible, this reportage system has created an avenue for people who even want to report anonymously are able to do that. We've created a client customer service centers in the hospital for people to walk in or even make a phone call, and then your whatever challenge you have, you can report it and the management takes it up. So as much as possible, management is doing quite a lot about some of these situations.
From the
Now, you may be familiar with asking or having to respond to a question whose answer is obvious. Now, somebody who has just returned from a trip outside home is welcome to the question like, are you back? Recipients of such communication often find it nice and perhaps diplomatic to respond, yes, I am. This speech mannerism appears to have become part of us, one way or the other. It appears steadily some Ghanaians are getting irritated by such language. Love FM's Kwesi Debra explores efforts by most people to do away with this way of interacting.
In the book of Proverbs, chapter 26, verse 4, and it says, answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. And this is where it gets interesting. Verse 5, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. Though I find these 2 statements contradictory, there's one dominant theme, and that is foolish questioning. So the question is, what is foolish question? Let's find out.
Now here's an invention that was granted patent number 556248, back in the year 1896, but don't ask me why.
18th century American columnist Rube Goldberg is well known for his cartoons of crazy, long, winding ways of finding solutions for carrying out simple tasks. Goldberg's Foolish Questions, published in 1909, was a long-running newspaper single-panel comic in which people ask foolish questions and are given sarcastic answers.
Reading a book, Harry? No, I am playing a violin solo on a bass drum. Young man, did you fall? No, I am taking a little nap.
In recent times, these skits have made their way into African comedy, especially in Ghana and Nigeria. Midday and Christina Awuni.
Nana, where you come for?
I'm a today.
Hey, Nana, I hire a son, yes, one.
I hire a bush up with them.
SDK Dele.
But I about to Indomie by mine. Indomie. Minji go back.
And Tales of Alidu are popular acts.
Say, Kasan and Yamay, Sakasan. But me say, I the rap series or cancer. There's a young question. I can't be a bar. My friend say, and Yakasa Papa.
These responses beg the question, the supposedly foolish questions. What are they? And what role do they play in our culture? Professor Charles Marfo is expert in linguistics.
Photic expressions are part of communication, every communication, and it is actually entrenched in culture. It just functions as a way of keeping the communication lines open so that there could be further conversations. Others have also said that it is a way of keeping a social relationship in good standing, right? So that if I can ask you an obvious question, I have seen you coming from the washroom, yet I go ahead and ask you, have you finished bathing or bathing? And then probably you would have wanted not to answer because it is obvious. But then you answer anyway, just so that there is an establishment of rapport.
To keep or not to keep tradition, is it nobler to answer a fool according to his folly or otherwise? Reporting for Joy News.
Are you reporting?
I am Kwesi Debra.
Still a lot to come in the news bulletin. Now in business, for instance, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has reaffirmed government's commitment to prudently manage expenditure as the Ghana exits the IMF program. Daryl Kwao has the details after this.